All right, we're off and running. You're watching the San Francisco 49ers Report. Chase Sr. here with you. A happy Thursday, May 22nd to everybody out there amongst the faithful, no matter where you are or how you're tuned in. I greatly appreciate all of you for making today's show a part of your day. We're in a little bit of a slow period in the NFL offseason. NFL schedule release was last week. The NFL draft, NFL free agency, well in the rear view. But what if I told you that the Niners will return to the practice field next week? So that means there's a lot to talk about here on the show. Can't wait to get into it with everybody here. As you venture in, please make sure you hit that thumbs up icon and you like the video. The more likes that we get, the more people who find the stream and the more fun that we will have right here on the program. It's great to see some real ones back in the chat. If you have your notifications on and you got a notification that we are going live, I want you to type me down in the comment section. That means that you're a real one. And if you haven't done that, when you do hit that subscribe button, hit that bell icon, shift it to all. Therefore, you get all of the notifications right here on the show. John Wallace, Operation Boogeyman, Nancy the Fish, Ernesto, Historic Stoic, Doughboy, Charles Hill, Oregon Magic, Brandon Weber, Ken Dowsland, Eric Brown, Win Real, Eric Bergeron, Byron McCants. How about the Noti gang showing up and showing out? And speaking of those real ones, if you want to be a part of our mailbag, that'll be segment number 4. Use the hashtag 49ers or send in a super chat. And if you're ready to start the show, bang, bang, Niner gang, go on down, hit that thumbs up icon, like the video. Already more than 100 people watching live. Only 31 likes. I need everybody watching right now to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. More people got that notification. They're starting to pile into the show as well. So many people typing me. I see Brandon, Greg, Robert, Nancy, Jamil, Victor also typing me because they have their notifications on. Kim Frederick and Henry Abrego, Darren Taylor, Angelo Beatrice. I see you as well. Bob Smith down in the building too. Big Hurt, what is up, my boy Big Hurt? Good to see you as well. All right, let's start off with segment number 1. Big moves coming. What could the Niners do after they signed George Kittle, Brock Purdy, and Fred Warner to their respective contract extensions? Let's start there. We have 4 segments to get to. Let's waste no time, and let's get into it. All right, here we go. Welcome into the show. You're watching the San Francisco 49ers Report. Chase Sr. here with you. And no matter where you are or how you're tuned in, thank you so much for making today's show a part of your day. What we're getting into here, could some big moves be coming for San Francisco after they signed George Kittle, Brock Purdy, and Fred Warner to contract extensions? We're talking about more extension candidates and some free agent targets for the Niners as well. And let's begin with some of the pieces in-house for the Niners who they could hand contract extensions to. And let's start off with right tackle Colt McKivitz. And I know a lot of you see that photo, you hear that name, and you say, what, Chase? Are you being serious? Really? There's no way, no how that the 49ers are going to sign him to a contract extension. I wouldn't be so sure. The Niners really like him as one of the anchors along this offensive line at that right tackle spot. And you know that I've criticized Colton McKivitz a lot. And I've always said, not a great offensive tackle. But last year, in 2024, he was okay to good. He will never be elite. And if I'm the Niners, I would never settle for just being okay along the offensive line. But that is their philosophy as an organization. And they look at McKivitz as a solid player who's affordable, and he has positional versatility. Was he elite in 2024? No, but he definitely improved from the season prior in 2023, and we'll take a look at those numbers coming up here in just a moment. Another thought here is this. Trent Williams is old, 37 years old. He's been injured a lot in recent years. And the 49ers did not draft a single young offensive tackle in the 2025 NFL draft. There isn't a young offensive tackle on this team who the Niners could develop. And Colton McKivitz has some of that positional versatility where he could play right tackle, left tackle, and a little bit along the interior. And in 2024, look at how he ranked among the 141 offensive tackles in football. Overall grade of 72.2. That was 37th. So he's a starting caliber tackle in this league. Right along the likes of Mike McGlinchey, who also wasn't elite by any means, but the Niners really liked him. As a pass blocker, McKivitz made some strides from 2023. 72.8 grade there. That was 43rd. Run blocking grade, that's important in Kyle Shanahan's system, 68.6. That was 46th. He only gave up 2 sacks. That wasn't bad. My issue, though, the last couple of years, he has given up a ton of pressures. 36 on Brock Purdy's front side. That ranked 124th among 141 offensive tackles in 2024. In 2023, it wasn't pretty. Overall PFF grade ranked 55th at the position. Pass blocking grade ranked 91st. He was actually a better run blocker in 2023 than he was in 2024. He ranked 39th there. But again, gave up 47 pressures. That was 129th among 137 offensive tackles. One of the lowest graded offensive tackles in that category in the National Football League. And in 2024, he only gave up 2 sacks. But in 2023, first full season as a starter, 9 sacks. That ranked 131st. So he made some strides in some areas, but for me, it's just not good enough. And the real ones know, if I was running this organization, this would not be my offensive line philosophy. Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch, if you're watching the show, you want to hire me, my ears are open. I think that we could do a good job working in unison together. And I would try to beat it down into the ground that you guys have to start emphasizing the offensive line more, because games are won and lost oftentimes along the line of scrimmage and at the point of attack. And going back to how McKivitz can be affordable, here's a look at the highest paid right tackles per year in the National Football League. Penei Sewell is at $28 million, Lane Johnson at $25, Jauan Taylor at $20, Ryan Ramczyk $19.2, although he did decide to retire. That's what he was making. Mike Onwenu at $19. Then you look at all those other players. Titus Howard, Brian O'Neill, Spencer Brown, Braden Smith, Mike McGlinchey. Mike McGlinchey is a top 10 highest paid right tackle in the game. A reason why the Niners like Colton McKivitz is because he's cheap and he would never come close to cracking this top 10 list. But I'll tell you this, going into 2025, just a lot of concerns along this offensive line, because if Trent Williams were to get hurt, who's going to be the backup? Austin Pleasance? Andre Dillard? If Colton McKivitz went down, who's going to be the backup? Spencer Burford, who's barely played tackle at the NFL level? Sebastian Gutierrez, come on now. And then at left guard, you're not sure who's going to be the starter there. At center, I don't think Jake Brendel is good enough. And Rant along the offensive line. What say you? Should the Niners extend Colton McKivitz? I want you to type yes or no down in the comments section and let me know what you're thinking on this front. A lot more to get to here on the show. But first, I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor today, making the show possible. That's our friends at Prize Picks. Get $50 when you play $5 on the best daily fantasy sports app when you go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Ladies and gentlemen, it is daily fantasy sports made easy, and it's the best place to turn your sports knowledge into cash. It really is a no-brainer. You should really sign up because you can cash in right now on the basketball playoffs with Prize Picks. Don't miss your last chance to add your favorite players from the court to your Prize Picks lineup, whether it's points, rebounds, assists. Take your pick of more or less for your shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash today. You can also turn your playoff hot takes into tickets to basketball's championship series, starting with the play-in round, which obviously is in the rear view. Every lineup has made you involved in the game, and you can continue to be on that ride. Prize Picks, the best place to win cash while watching sports. Join millions of users and sign up today. Of course, the hockey playoffs going down as well. Here's how the game works. For instance, let's go Julius Randle, who had a good start to this series in the Western Conference Finals. more than 32.5 points, rebounds, and assists. SGA, some people call him a foul merchant, more than 44 points, rebounds, and dimes. And then Naz Reid, more than 6.5 rebounds and assists. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. Pick more, pick less, pick Prize Picks. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Get $50 when you play $5. Extension candidate number 2, wide receiver Jauan Jennings. This is one player who I would love to see the Niners sign, but I think Jauan Jennings might play this season out and try to cash in at a price tag after 2025 that the Niners won't be able to afford. Going into 2024, JJ signed that 2-year, $15.4 million extension. And last year, he had nearly 1,000 yards. When you're getting Jauan Jennings at under $8 million per season, that's excellent value. Last year, turned in a career-best season, 77 catches, 975 yards, and 6 touchdowns. He's entering his age 28 season. Been a really good developmental story since being a 7th-round pick in the 2020 NFL Draft out of Tennessee. He actually committed to Tennessee to play quarterback. And when in high school, he was a great basketball player. A lot of college coaches across the country thought that he was a top 200 recruit. Ends up being a really good wide receiver at Tennessee. Then he didn't even crack the 53-man roster as a rookie for San Francisco. But since he's been on the active roster starting in 2021, he has made so many strides, and it's been really fun to watch his development take place. And with him coming off a career year, the 49ers clearly really value him. I think it would be smart to extend him. But from Jauan Jennings' perspective, and I teased this just moments ago, with how robust and expensive and lucrative the wide receiver market is, if Jauan Jennings goes out there and has nearly 1,000 yards again, right now he's making less than $8 million per season, I think that he can cash in between $15 and $20 million. Is he a number 1? Probably not. Can he be one of the top number 2s in football? I think so. You look at the highest paid wide receivers in the NFL, similar conversation to the one that we had with Colton McKivitz just a couple of minutes ago. Jauan Jennings is not going to crack this list. But because all of these players are making so much money, it does help out a player like Jauan Jennings and probably landing a contract between $15 and $20 million per season if he produces in 2025 like he did in 2024. 77 grabs, 975, 6 touchdowns, 113 targets. With Brandon Ayuk out, he became the number 1 option for Brock Purdy. And it really came out of nowhere considering how little production he had prior to that. The most catches that he had in a season was in 2022. 35 grabs for a career-high 416 yards at that time with 56 targets. Those numbers completely blow up in 2024. Why I really like him and where Jauan Jennings really excels, track record of being clutch. I mean, he has been incredible on the money downs, 3rd down, 4th down. And he lacks speed, but he's a good route runner. He's a savvy route runner, using his long frame and his head fakes to really juke out a lot of DBs. He's also very physical, and he can use his size to go up and get it, and he's tough at the catch point to win some of those 50-50 balls, as we know too. He's a great run blocker. Excellent player for the Niners culture because he's been a great player developmental story, plays the game in such a rugged and tough way with no fear, and the Niners as an organization, they prioritize players like that. And Jennings, a lot of people might say, there's no way he's going to duplicate that success in 2025 like he did in 2024. He very well could, because there are question marks at the wide receiver position. Brandon Ayuk might miss half of the year. And so if Ayuk is out, obviously when he's in, he's wide receiver 1, but let's say he misses half the year. Jauan Jennings has an opportunity to once again be wide receiver 1 like he was last year. Now you're hoping that Ricky Pearsall can have a big leap. I want to see what Jordan Watkins and Jacob Cowing, Tariq Owens, Isaiah Nayer, Junior Bergen, what players like that can do. But you take Ayuk out, Jauan Jennings outside of Demarcus Robinson as a pro player is the most proven player in that wide receiver room, and he is the leader of that wide receiver room. Extension candidate number 3, is Yetur Gross-Matos. Like Colton McKivitz, a lot of you might say, why would that make any sense? Well, this would be more so financial gymnastics and logistics because Yetur Gross-Matos going into 2024, so 2 free agency periods ago, signed a 2-year, $18 million contract. And he has a cap hit of $9.5 million in 2025. He's 27 years old. He was hurt last year. If you sign him to a new deal, that new deal can lower the cap hit, and the new deal as an extension could be for cheaper than what you signed him to going into 2024. Now, my previous job, I covered Penn State, very familiar with that program. I grew up on Joe Paterno football, and so I think there's a better player in there than what Yetur Gross-Matos has been able to show. I think there's a reason why he was a second-round pick out of Penn State by the Carolina Panthers. He went to the Panthers, though. Pro Football Focus, his final season with Carolina in 2023, named him the most improved player on that Panthers defense. And I agree. But we're talking about a guy who's 6'5", 265. He has very long arms. We saw in flashes last year that he has some pop to his game, and in limited time, 4 sacks, 6 TFLs. He was a little bit disruptive. And so as a depth piece, this is a player who you might be interested in having around your organization, knowing he was hurt last year. He could play defensive tackle. He can play defensive end, has positional versatility. And if he can stay healthy, there's a lot of potential there. As for other big moves potentially for San Francisco, here are my top 5 free agent targets. And if we were to include an offensive lineman, I would include Brandon Scherff, who's made multiple Pro Bowls in his day and was a top 5 pick by the Washington Redskins many years ago before they were the football team and the Commanders. Jadeveon Clowney, Zadarius Smith, Justin Simmons, Julian Blackmon, and C.J. Mosley. And some thoughts on these players. You probably have a need as far as defensive end depth. You probably want to see where Mykel Williams is and see if he can be ready to man a majority of those snaps. But if you're not confident in some of the depth pieces at defensive end, Jadeveon Clowney, I think, would be an excellent veteran addition. Now, he's been on so many teams in recent memory, and obviously that's a little bit of a concern. He's never had double-digit sacks, but he's physical. He plays the game hard. He brings an edge to your defense. He is a good scheme fit for San Francisco. He's been pretty good against the run, and he has been a good producer as far as sacks, despite not having double-digit sacks. A player like Zadarius Smith is interesting because he's been productive in recent years, and he has experience playing in the wide 9, and he's played at a high level in the wide 9. Played for the Cleveland Browns. Jim Schwartz runs the wide 9 and always has. And so Zadarius Smith could fit you there as well. Because Malik Mustafa is out, Justin Simmons could make some sense. He's a 4-time second-team All-Pro who fits the locker room, coming off a down year with Atlanta, but that Falcons defense was one of the worst in the NFL. They were last in sacks, last in sack percentage, and so that always impacts the secondary, of course, and Simmons had to learn a new system, and the defensive coordinator got fired. Julian Blackmon is a player who the Niners showed interest in going into the 2024 season. And then there's C.J. Mosley. D. Winters, Jalen Graham, Nick Martin, those are unproven players at the linebacker spot. I like the talent that they have, but they're unproven. And so what the Niners could do at defensive end, at linebacker, at a couple of different positions, see what your young players are capable of. See what that learning curve is. See what you envision their role being. And if you think you need to make a move, I think these 5 players make a lot of sense for San Francisco. And it would be a big move because these are obviously big names out there on the free agency market. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. My name is Chase Sr. Here on the 49ers Report. We give you elite Niners coverage every single day year-round. More than 155 people watching live. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. Let's get that number up as well. We have 79 likes. Hit that thumbs up icon. Like the video. A shout out to the recent commenter club. David Corona, John Wallace, Travis M., Roddy Cal, Brandon Weber, just stoic. Candy is in the building. What's up, Candy? Art Jeffrey, Kim Frederick, I see you as well. We will be doing a mailbag here on the show, so use the hashtag 49ers or send in a super chat. That's hashtag 49ers or send in a super chat.
Get those questions in, baby. None yet so far.
No questions yet. We didn't really plug that earlier, but we're plugging it now. If you have a question for me, you want to be on the mailbag, get your questions in. Use that hashtag 49ers, or again, send in a super chat. I know we have some big-time super chatters who are watching the show here. Always appreciate y'all. And let's move forward to segment number 2. Segment number 2 is coming your way. We're live here on this Thursday, May 22nd, and I'm going to explain why Colin Cowherd is wrong about this Brock Purdy contract. Roddy Cal said, get C.J. Mosley back. See, has familiarity with Robert Saleh. Played elite 2 years ago. That is for sure. All right, let's get into segment number 2. Let's continue to push forward. Hey there, welcome into the show. You're watching the San Francisco 49ers Report. My name is Chase Sr., and coming up, I'm going to explain why Colin Cowherd is wrong about this Brock Purdy contract. But I'm also going to open up the floor and open up the conversation and debate to you. This is today's poll question, so go on down and get your votes in. Do you like the Brock Purdy contract? Type yes or no. Share your thoughts with me down in the comment section right now. Now, Cowherd the other day on FS1, Fox Sports Radio, was talking about this Brock Purdy contract, and every day seemingly there are new details that come out with this Purdy deal. And Cowherd said, look, I'm okay paying quarterbacks between $50 and $55 million in average annual value, meaning per year. And he said, I'm okay paying that number for a quarterback if they can lead their teams or they are the offense. Cowherd added, I think Brock Purdy is closer to Baker Mayfield than Josh Allen when you compare what they do for their respective teams. And he said, it's not to say that I agree with the other contracts that we have seen recently, like Trevor Lawrence, Dak Prescott, Tua Tagovailoa. Those 3 quarterbacks all signed their deals last offseason. Couple of thoughts on that to kind of start us off here. Brock Purdy has played like a top 10 quarterback statistically since coming into the league in 2022. You look at all types of quarterback statistics and quarterback metrics. You look at some of the advanced analytics. You look at what he's done from a team perspective, making it to 2 NFC championship games, making it to a Super Bowl. Brock Purdy has been a top 10 quarterback since he came into the league. And so you think about the NFL salary cap. It has gone up astronomically over the last few years. With that, contracts have gone up and quarterback contracts have gone up. And so $50 to $55 million is the market and the going rate for good quarterback play. And if Purdy continues on this trajectory and he continues to play really good football, Purdy at $53 million will soon be a bargain because he's capable of continuing to get better. He's 24 years old, soon to be 25. There is room for him to grow. Here's the other thing, too, about how much this quarterback market has shifted and how drastically it shifted in a little amount of time. Jalen Hurts got a contract for $51 million per year after the 2022 season. At the time, he was the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. So that was going into 2023. Here we are going into 2025. Jalen Hurts is not even a top 10 highest paid quarterback in the NFL. That's how much the market has shifted and changed. And so in a year or two, Brock Purdy, who's tied for 7th in average annual value, might not be a top 10 quarterback. And he's under contract for the next 6 years at an average annual value of $45 million. And then with Cowherd mentioning Baker Mayfield, Baker Mayfield is criminally underpaid. I think his contract was for $120 million and $30 million per year. He has played the last 2 seasons like a top 10 quarterback. His deal is outdated. He soon, if he plays well again in 2025, is going to get a new deal. And I guarantee you it's going to be for more than what Brock Purdy is making. Another important note here is I like the structure of this contract for San Francisco because the Niners can get out from beneath that deal after the 2026 season. We updated that number down below. Shout out to Chip. And so the Niners have some security and wiggle room with this deal as well. And I think that's really important. As for the highest paid quarterbacks per year, you see Purdy there tied for 7th with Jared Goff. He is behind Tua. I would take Purdy. He is behind Trevor Lawrence. I would take Purdy. He is behind Jordan Love. I would take Purdy. And the only argument that people have for why they might like Love or Lawrence or Tua more than Purdy is just based not on what they've actually accomplished, not on how they've played, but only because of either what they did in college or their physical attributes. And for me at this point, I don't give a damn about that. What have you done at the NFL level? Brock Purdy, again, has been a top 10 guy. Where I do agree with Cowherd. He voiced concerns about how San Francisco has not addressed the offensive line. If Trent Williams gets hurt, then Purdy will have to carry, and Purdy isn't one of those quarterbacks who can really carry his team. What's the evidence? We saw that last year in 2024 when the Niners were the second most injured offense in the NFL, and Purdy didn't play all that well. But you'd be hard-pressed to find quarterbacks, current and former, who can play well without not having talent around them. And there are so many examples of these types of players. Like Peyton Manning had Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne, Edgerrin James, and a really good defense with a really good offensive line. Like good quarterbacks and teams who contend for Super Bowls, there's a reason why they contend for Super Bowls and win Super Bowls. They are great teams. I have not seen a bad team win a Super Bowl. And so I agree with Cowherd in the sense that you made this investment in Brock Purdy, and you're giving him all this money, yet you continue to not take the offensive line seriously enough. If Trent Williams goes down, my gosh, that's scary. If Colton McKivitz gets hurt, that is not good. Ben Barch, Nick Sakel, Connor Colby, Spencer Burford competing at left guard, Jake Brendel. How many times last year did he get pushed into the lap of Brock Purdy? It's problematic. Now, Cowherd did say a guy like C.J. Stroud, I would pay this amount of money because last year he dealt with similar issues to Purdy. Injuries along the offensive line, bad offensive line play in general, a lack of weapons. Here's the thing. C.J. Stroud is going into year 3. He is going to be extension eligible after the 2025 season. He is going to make more than Dak Prescott at $60 million. He's going to reset the quarterback market. He's going to become the highest paid quarterback in the history of the NFL. Because if he plays well, him and his representation are going to say, we're going into year 4. You have a young quarterback who's turned this franchise around. He's had playoff success. He's won division titles. He's only going to continue to get better. Look at what he's had to deal with. Not ideal circumstances. And he's so much younger than Dak. Yeah, we want more than 60. And Cowherd did had, other quarterbacks have been able to drive this Niners car under Kyle Shanahan. He referenced Jimmy G. Look, the eye test tells you everything that you need to know. Brock Purdy is so much better than Jimmy Garoppolo. More mobility, just as strong of an arm. I know that last year Brock Purdy threw some hospital balls. He threw some bad picks that were very Jimmy G-esque. But you would take Brock Purdy 7 days out of the week and again on Sunday over Jimmy G. And have they both been benefiting from Kyle Shanahan? In the case of Garoppolo, benefited from Shanahan? No doubt about it. But come on now. Purdy is a better player than Jimmy Garoppolo, and Jimmy Garoppolo's deal wasn't close to this Purdy one. Cowherd also references what I've said. The danger in overpaying for a quarterback is that you water down the rest of the roster. And I've used this example so much with Dak Prescott. The Cowboys have paid him a couple of times. The rest of the roster, they haven't invested in. They become too Dak reliant, and they suffered because of that. They haven't had enough depth or talent to make deep playoff runs. Dak Prescott has struggled in big games. He is not a quarterback who you want to drop back 30, 40, 50 times, yet the Cowboys have leaned on him to do that, and he's not capable of shouldering that load. Here's the thing, though. Brock Purdy is not getting the Dak Prescott contract. Dak took $60 million per year, $231 million in total guaranteed money in Texas, where there are no state income taxes. Brock Purdy took $53 million and $181 million in total guaranteed money in California, where state income taxes reached as high as 12+% in 2025. So Purdy took a bargain, and I think he's better than Dak. He's also beaten Dak in every head-to-head matchup. I think Cowherd would really like that state income tax reference. Cowherd used to live in California. He just moved from the LA area to Chicago. Cowherd, I hope that move went well. Cowherd did say that Purdy can't carry. Is he right or is he wrong on that front? Yeah, he's kind of right. When the Niners were dealing with a lot of issues and injuries along the offensive line and two skill position players, Purdy did not have the 2024 that he was hoping for. Purdy did not have the 2024 like he had the 2023 season, where he was top 5 in MVP voting, led the league in multiple categories, and had one of the most efficient quarterback seasons that we've seen in recent memory. But here is what Purdy still accomplished, despite having the second most injured offense in the NFL. Number 2 in explosive rating, number 2 in passer rating against zone, number 3 in yards per attempt, number 3 in pressure completion rate, number 4 in success rate, number 5 in EPA per attempt, number 6 in QBR, and number 8 in deep ball completion rate. Those numbers play. And I just don't think that people look at this contract in an intelligent way, given all of the things that you have to look at as far as this deal. It doesn't reset the market. There were rumors of him getting $60+ million. This doesn't come close. $53 million per year, soon won't be inside the top 10. The guaranteed money is lower than I thought. The structure is very team-friendly. Over the next 6 years, the average annual value dips down to $45 million per year. He's occupying 18.9% of the Niners salary cap. That's 14th in the NFL among quarterbacks. He gets $100 million at signing. That's 12th. And I think that he can continue to get better. And then you look at what Bill Barnwell said on ESPN, and we talked about this earlier this week. This is a great breakdown for the percentage of the cap that Purdy is occupying compared to other quarterbacks, especially the deals that quarterbacks signed at the time that they signed them, when the salary cap was fluctuating and changing. So Purdy's average annual salary on his new deal, $53 million, amounts to nearly 19% of the current salary cap, $279.2 million. Here is a list of guys since 2020 who have signed multi-year extensions as their second contracts, and the percentage of the cap their deals represented at the time. Again, the percentage of the cap that their deals occupied at the time and what their average annual value would amount to if we translate it to the current cap environment. Joe Burrow, his average annual value with this current cap would be $68.4 million. That would take up 24.5% of the Bengals salary cap. Josh Allen, his AAV would be 65.9, 23.6%. Justin Herbert, 65.3, 23.4. Kyler Murray, 63.4, 22.7. Jalen Hurts, 63.4, 22.7. Patrick Mahomes, 63.4. Same number there. Trevor Lawrence, $60 million even, 21.5. That was only last year. Tua last year as well. He'd be at $58.1 million this year. That's $5 more million than Purdy at 20.8%. And then Deshaun Watson, what a disaster. And so average annual value from Barnwell isn't the best or only measure of contract value. We'll know more about the guaranteed structure when the full details come out. But the only quarterback who signed a smaller multi-year extension with his existing team since 2020 than Purdy by AAV and percentage is Daniel Jones, who got cut mid-year by the New York Giants last year and is now on the Indianapolis Colts. RIP to the great Jim Irsay. Be sure to give me a follow on X and Instagram at Chase_Senior. In addition to all of the Niners content I give you here, I'm always talking Niners on the social media pages. And speaking of Purdy, if you want a Purdy jersey, head to chatsports.com/49jersey. Get hooked up. If you want something like a polo, a shirt, a hoodie, a hat, you still use that link. It'll take you to Fanatics, and Fanatics will know that we sent you. Segment number 2 is down. Going to move on to segment number 3. Oh, Candy, a $50 super chat. Thank you, Candy. We'll pop that super chat up. Always appreciate when you make it rain. The 49ers, by the way, officially announcing that they have signed All-Pro linebacker Fred Warner to his contract extension. We're going to move on to segment number 3 here in a moment. Segment number 4, I will take your questions. So get your questions in right now by using the hashtag 49ers or sending in a super chat like Candy, who didn't even need to say anything, just being a legend here.
There we go, Candy.
Hi, Mr. Chase and Chip. No questions. I get updated daily from Chat Sports and the Niners. Just hello. Cowherd, stay in Chicago. Purdy is the man. I love Cowherd. He's actually my favorite sports broadcaster. If I could be him one day or do what he does, I would be very happy. But yeah, look, I think he had some good points. I think that he was wrong on a couple of fronts as well. All right, segment number 3. About to get underway. Another reminder, hashtag 49ers. Send in a super chat. We're doing this for you. If you have questions that you want me to answer, get those questions in.
Let's go, baby. Greg Smith, the only one to take advantage, man. This is your chance to get on the show. How often can you get to do that, man? Get your thoughts, opinions. It doesn't even have to be a question. You have a hot take. You have an opinion you want to share with the people.
Come on now.
Hashtag 49ers. Exactly how you see it on screen. That way I can grab it. Put it in the show for you just like Greg Smith did in the chat. You can see that right there as an example.
You already know. You already know. All right, segment number 3. Niners OTAs preview. That is coming up next. OTAs getting underway next week. What storylines are we looking out for? And which players will we be keeping an eye on? That's coming up next. 5 likes away from 100, by the way. Hit that thumbs up icon and like the video right now. OTAs preview. Let's go. OTAs are coming up this upcoming week for the San Francisco 49ers. So fittingly on today's show, I am giving you a Niners OTAs preview. Everything you need to know, top storylines, and the top players to watch on this Niners team. As for the OTAs schedule, right after Memorial Day weekend, the Niners hit the practice field at the SAP Performance Center in Santa Clara. OTAs getting underway May 27th, May 28th. So back-to-back practice sessions. Then they're back on the field after our rest day on May 30th. Then they get back at it June 2nd and the 3rd, then June 5th. And then mandatory minicamp for San Francisco will be June 10th and June 11th. A big storyline for the Niners as compared to previous years. And you think about all of the contract extensions that have been signed over the last few years. Fred Warner in 2020, George Kittle in 2020, Fred Warner 2021, Deebo Samuel 2022, Nick Bosa 2023, Brandon Ayuk in 2024. Before that, there was the Jimmy Garoppolo offseason, although he signed that in February. But a big storyline for the Niners, finally no contract drama during OTAs for the first time in a long time. That is very refreshing. The Niners have made it a point to get these deals done so that they could focus on football. A year after they were 6-11, when these contract issues really bled into the season, and I thought it impacted their play. So San Francisco has locked up their key pillars. I don't expect any other big money deals to the likes of Brock Purdy, George Kittle, and Fred Warner. You can throw out a Colton McKivitz or a Jauan Jennings, but those deals will pale in comparison to these contracts here on your screen. What I want to hear with OTAs getting underway is that the rookie defenders are ready to contribute. I think there is a real chance that under Robert Saleh, as he comes back to San Francisco, that C.J. West, Alfred Collins, Mykel Williams, Nick Martin, and Upton Stout could be starters this year for this defense. Why do I think that? Because I think that they can be the best players at their respective positions. They all played a lot in college. They're all athletic freaks. They all bring a level of physicality that I think translates to the NFL level. I like their scheme fits, and frankly, I really like the players. And so I want to hear that these rookie defenders are ready to let it rip. Number two, that Christian McCaffrey, the 2023 Offensive Player of the Year, who had more than 2,000 all-purpose yards, who finished top 5 in MVP voting, has a good bill of health, and he looks good because he is critical to this Niners offense. I also want to hear that Ricky Pearsall going into year 2 maybe bulked up a little bit, but that didn't impact his speed, and he is ready to take a leap. That's especially important because Brandon Ayuk might miss half of the year. I want to hear that Brock Purdy is slinging that rock. Brock, you don't have to worry about the contract. You signed it. You got $181 million in total guaranteed money. You are a rich man. You have gone from one of the most affordable contracts in the NFL, the biggest bargain in the league over the last couple of years, to being a top 10 highest paid quarterback. You are the franchise guy. Now it's time to continue your development, play very well, and now that you don't have to worry about the money and the contract, your focus is solely on football, and I want to see that translate to elite play. And then number 5, what I want to hear is that Trent Williams, who we have not heard a peep from all offseason, is also ready to go. He was at the first OTA session back a few weeks ago when he usually doesn't attend an event like that. I want him back at OTAs here. I want this Niners team with the first stringers getting those valuable practice reps in so that they can hit the ground running here in 2025. And the Niners, a lot of their success hinges on Trent Williams being healthy at that left tackle spot. A lot more to get to here with our OTAs preview, but I want to hit this. New subscribers picked up this week. We are getting beaten by Seattle Seahawks today. It's the week 1 opponent. That's a hostile rivalry, one of the best and most heated rivalries in the NFL. Hit that subscribe button if you want Niner shows every single day. I guarantee you, you're not going to regret that decision. And let's take down the fraudulent Seahawks. As for some position battles to watch, who will start at left guard for San Francisco? The Niners brought back Ben Bartch, who, before he got hurt, played well in the place of Aaron Banks. Nick Sakel is going to have an opportunity there. 7th-round pick out of Iowa, Connor Colby, played left guard in college. He's going to have an opportunity. So, too, is Spencer Burford, who's going into a critical year. Which player is going to take the bull by the horns and claim that starting left guard spot? Along the offensive line, does Jake Brendel get challenged? The Niners have said there could be a little bit of a competition there. I don't think that Brendel is a starting caliber center in this league. I think when you match him up against very good defensive tackles, he doesn't have a good anchor. He gets pushed around too much. Last year, he committed way too many penalties. I know that he was dealing with some knee tendonitis issues, but while some of the numbers were good, the eye test to me is not good enough. The pass blocking grade ranked 51st among 64 centers last year. 26 pressures given up, right up the gut. I mean, there was pressure right in Brock Purdy's face. 26 pressures. That ranked 58th. He had 10 penalties. That was second to last in the NFL. The overall grade, not awful. Starting caliber, 23rd among 64. But the pass blocking grade, the pressures, the penalties, not good. The run blocking grade was solid at 71.6. But when you sign your quarterback to a contract extension, you need to keep him upright. And oftentimes last year, Jake Brendel was getting pushed into the lap of Purdy, or he was getting run by. And so will it be Matt Hennessy? Can Drake Nugent challenge Jake Brendel for that role? We will see, because as we know, Kyle Shanahan and the Niners, they really like Brendel. Another position battle here, it's going to involve two positions. It's the two linebacker spots around Fred Warner. We know that Fred Warner is in the middle, but who's going to be the starting weak side linebacker? Who's going to be the starting strong side linebacker? I think rookie Nick Martin can play either of those positions. It's really going to depend on preference here for Robert Saleh. Does he want Nick Martin on the strong side or the weak side? Does he want D. Winters on the weak side or the strong side? Could we see an upset? And could we see a Luke Gifford, who's been a special teamer, a Tatum Bethune, 7th round pick from 2 years ago, a Stone Blanton, a Jalen Graham, a Curtis Robinson, who had a good camp last year, make some headway to challenge for some starting snaps? The cornerback, safety, and defensive line rotation. What I mean here is, at the cornerback spot, is Robert Saleh going to have Deommodore Lenoir and Renardo Green on the outside with Upton Stout in the slot? Is Deommodore Lenoir going to play inside where he's elite and he's very good on the outside, and then somebody else plays on that outside role? Renardo Green, I have a lot of confidence in him. Really good player. Deommodore Lenoir is an excellent player too. I think this right here, this cornerback trio, is the best trio, and it's the best three players that you can have at that cornerback spot. And I think Upton Stout can surprise a lot of people. I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do. At the safety position, Malik Mustafa had to undergo that ACL surgery. Not a full tear, but the graft that was in his knee for the ACL that he tore in 2022 got re-injured in week 18, And so he's going to miss some time to start the year. The leader in the clubhouse right now to start alongside Jair Brown, who has to rebound from a bad year too, is Jason Pinnock. But you also have the rookie and Marquis Siegel, who can really run, 4.3, 4.4 guy. Richie Grant is another guy who could take that spot as well. But that position opposite of Jair Brown up for grabs. And then along the defensive line, I think that Mykel Williams, C.J. West, and Alfred Collins have an opportunity to start alongside Nick Bosa. But will Robert Saleh play three rookies as starters along that defensive line? I think they're the best players. We'll see if they can earn those roles. And then at number 5, kickers and punters, they are people too. Will Jake Moody get pushed? The Niners have brought in some competition to push Jake Moody. It's not the competition that I like. Greg Joseph is being brought in as the veteran kicker to challenge Jake Moody, but his career numbers have not been good. I would have brought in Nick Folk. Nick Folk is older, but he's been the most accurate kicker in the NFL the last 2 years, and he's been good from 50+. Greg Joseph, he's been awful from 50+. There's Kenneth Almendares, who the Niners brought in for a tryout during rookie minicamp. We'll see if he's on hand for OTAs, but he was the winner of the Lou Groza Award last year at Louisiana for the Ragin' Cajuns for the best kicker in college football. Bigger dude who's like 240, 250, but he can really kick it. Today's show, still more to get to. Let's take a moment to thank our friends at Prize Picks for making today's 49ers Report possible. Get $50 when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive that $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Think about what's happening right now. Baseball, hockey playoffs, basketball playoffs. You can cash in on the basketball and hockey playoffs with Prize Picks. Don't miss your last chance to add your favorite players from the court or the ice to your Prize Picks lineup, whether it's points, rebounds, assists. Take your pick of more or less for your shot to win up to 2,000 times your money. You can turn your playoff hot takes into tickets for basketball's championship series, where Prize Picks will enter you in the Takes to Tickets sweepstakes which could get you in a +1 on a VIP trip to the ship. Prize Picks is the best place to win cash while watching sports. So join the millions of users and sign up today. Every Tuesday, there's the Taco Tuesday special, 15 to 25% off. And this is how the game works. Let's go Julius Randle. More than 32.5 points, rebounds, and assists against Oklahoma City. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. More than 44 points, rebounds, and dimes. And then Naz Reid, more than 6.5 boards and assists. It's as easy as that. So download the app, create an account, pick more, pick less, choose more or less. Get $50 when you play $5 at prizepicks.com/CLNS. As for my OTAs players to watch, a lot of rookies here because they are going to need to play sizable roles in 2025. So I'm looking at Mykel Williams, Alfred Collins, Upton Stout, Nick Martin, and CJ West. Those rookies take precedent in where my attention is going because I think that they can start for this defense, and frankly, I think they might need to start for this defense. Other players who I just want to watch because I'm intrigued by their games, Jordan Watkins, 4'3" guy out of Ole Miss, one of the more explosive wide receivers in college football last year. Jordan James, a 5th-round pick, who's a classic. Kyle Shanahan, Bobby Turner, Niners type of running back. Can he challenge Isaac Guerendo for RB2 carries? And then can Connor Colby win a starting role at left guard along this offensive line, the 7th-round pick out of Iowa, who had a really good relative athletic score, was very consistent at Iowa, has a nasty streak to his game, is very tall, very physical, really good scheme fit. Can he unseat Ben Barch, Spencer Burford, Nick Sakel at that left guard position? Other OTAs players to watch. These players have been in the NFL, right? Christian McCaffrey. Niners need him to stay healthy. He can help in the red zone. He can help in short yardage. He can be the safety valve for Brock Purdy. He's one of the more dynamic, explosive, and overall best football players in the National Football League. This passing game, it's going to be reliant on Ricky Pearsall living up to those first-round expectations. Jacob Cowan, we saw some juice in the preseason last year. Can that translate to your sophomore campaign? Isaac Guerendo, 220 pounds, runs a 4.3. He's so dynamic. Can the game slow down a little bit, which could thus improve his vision? And then Jake Moody. You start missing some kicks, you will be on the hot seat, my guy. If you are ready for some Niners football, type LFG. This gets me pumped up, man. I hope it gets you pumped up as well. I kind of sound like John Gruden. All right, segment number 3 is down. We're going to move forward to segment number 4. Cam's dad with the $2 super chat. Super Bowl at Levi's and no rings yet for the current crew. Hungry. You know, that's something that Brock Purdy talked about yesterday. He said there's a renewed sense of energy. This team is hungry. They are ready to go. And last year in 2024, the Niners really did look and play like a team that was mentally and physically fatigued. I think there is that new type of energy around this Niners team going into 2025. Cam's dad, thank you so much for that super chat. Love the dog in the profile picture. Big dog guy right here. All right, segment number 4 coming up. Last call. Do you want to get a question in? If you do, use the hashtag 49ers or send in a super chat. The number to beat if you want to be our super chat MVP, $50 from Candy. If you want to be our super chat MVP on this Thursday, May 22nd, that is the number to beat. And if you do send in the super chat, you are guaranteed to get your questions answered right here on the show.
I think we showed this one that we got.
Oh, Spunky guy. Real ones are the best ones. I like that. That could be like a chant. Real ones are the best ones. Spunky guy. That's a fact right there. Appreciate you, brother. All right, last call. Get your questions in for our mailbag. Going to talk about Christian McCaffrey here for a moment. Then we're going to talk about this Adam Schefter report on Brock Purdy, and then we will take your questions. Shout out to Joji, Chua Lore, Greg Smith, James McD, Robert Wade. I'll type in LFG in the comment section. Joji! All right, here we go. Segment number 4. Let's get it. A lot to talk about here on the San Francisco 49ers report. My name is Chase Sr. We have a Christian McCaffrey injury update, a Brock Purdy report from Adam Schefter that he came through with this week, and we are also going to open up the floor and take your questions here on the show for a little bit of a mailbag, so stay tuned for that as well as we chop it up with the faithful. Let's talk Christian McCaffrey. So Niners OTAs are coming up this upcoming week. One of the big storylines, how does Christian McCaffrey look? Last year was a disaster of a season for him and the San Francisco 49ers, given the injuries that he had to deal with. The good news is that all of the talk out of Santa Clara continues to be that Christian McCaffrey looks great. And we had another Christian McCaffrey update this week because Brock Purdy was on the NFL Network, and he was asked about McCaffrey, his injury status, and how he's looking. And Purdy said, McCaffrey looks awesome. He's getting in and out of cuts. He means so much to our offense as a Swiss Army knife because, as we know, he can run it in between the tackles. He can get out to the perimeter. He can catch passes out of the backfield. He can line up out of the slot and catch passes there as a slot receiver. He just adds another element and a completely unique set of skills to this Niners offense. And we saw how San Francisco really missed him last year in the pass game, on third downs, in the red zone, as a pass protector. Christian McCaffrey is one of the best players in the National Football League. And Purdy echoed that. He said, look, he's such a special player with all of the ways that he can be used, with the versatility. But it's also the leadership that he brings to the team as well. A couple of weeks ago, Clay Kubiak, who has been elevated to Niners offensive coordinator, also said, I am fired up about Christian McCaffrey being healthy. He looks great. And in 2024, what a crazy season it was. He got that contract extension with the Niners. He got all of that guaranteed money, which at the time was a record deal for a running back that stood until Saquon Barkley took him down this offseason. And right before the year, started to hear whispers about Christian McCaffrey dealing with Achilles tendonitis. And going into week 1, his status was unknown. When the Niners were taking on the Jets, we weren't sure the night and the day of that game if McCaffrey was going to play. He didn't play that game. And then it's something that lingered, and he missed the first 8 games. He had to go overseas, and he had to go to Germany to get some stem cell treatment on his Achilles. And we found out a little bit later on that Christian McCaffrey has Achilles tendonitis in both of his legs. So it was bilateral Achilles tendonitis. He comes back, plays a couple of games, and then in the snow against the Buffalo Bills, he starts to look like himself. The 2023 Christian McCaffrey. But on that frozen turf, as the snow was coming down, he got tackled by his ankle, he fell on his knee, and he suffered a knee injury. And so last year, Christian McCaffrey did not record a single touchdown. And a year after winning Offensive Player of the Year, we barely saw him, and the effects of him being out of the lineup were felt for the Niners offense. So this is a significant development. This is great news for San Francisco going into 2025 because they need Christian McCaffrey and Trent Williams to be healthy to reach their fullest potential. As for this Adam Schefter report on Brock Purdy, Schefter came out this week and said that Purdy's original asking price was for $65 million per year. First of all, I highly doubt that Brock Purdy asked for $65 million per year, which would have made him the highest paid player in the history of the National Football League. It would have made him the highest paid quarterback in the National Football League. And it would have made him the highest paid player in the history of the NFL by $5 million, I'm calling cap on that. There's no way. And I know that anytime you go into a contract negotiation, it's important to set that bar high and to come down from it. But there's no chance that Purdy seriously asked for 65 and then came all the way down to $53 million. I don't see how that's possible. Schefter also said no teams inquired about a Brock Purdy trade. When Schefter reached out to those teams who maybe needed a quarterback, they would say, really good player, but he's perfect for the Niners. And some people might look at that as a shot at Purdy. I think that's fine. Kyle Shanahan has a quarterback who's been able to run his offense very well, who's the perfect fit for San Francisco. That's why the Niners gave him that bag. Before we continue to move forward, it's all Niners all the time right here on the show. Subscribe to the San Francisco 49ers Report for daily shows right here on the Niners from yours truly. Let's take your questions and your super chats. Cam's dad with a $2 donation. Thank you so much for that. Super Bowl at Levi's Stadium and no rings yet for this current crew. The Niners are hungry. What a storyline it would be that for Super Bowl 60, the Niners don't have to travel anywhere. They can sleep in their own beds. They can play at their own stadium. And they have a chance to win their 6th Lombardi Trophy for the 60th Super Bowl. How iconic would it be to see Fred Warner and George Kittle and Nick Bosa win a ring knowing that they have lost 2 heartbreaking Super Bowls? And what a storyline it would be for Brock Purdy to get a ring right after the contract. And probably the biggest storyline among all of them, Kyle Shanahan getting a Lombardi Trophy. If Kyle Shanahan wins a Super Bowl with the 49ers, he will go down as one of the best, most influential minds in the history of the NFL. But right now, that big Super Bowl win is escaping him. And I do think the Niners are hungry. Brock Purdy even said it. There's a renewed sense of energy around this team. Kyle Shanahan said that earlier this offseason. He had said, I'm as excited and as ready to go for this season as I've been in recent time. And I think the Niners are really motivated to prove people wrong. James Sprinkle Jones. How is Brandon Ayuk's rehab going? Is he going to start week 1? So Brandon Ayuk's rehab, I think, is going pretty well. You know, we've seen some videos of him moving around at his wedding, no limp, looking strong, putting weight onto that bad leg. And then the Niners had a golf outing a few weeks ago, and he was wearing a sleeve on his leg, but there was a lot of quad definition in that leg. So that's really big because that means that that leg isn't atrophied, which is really, really important. And if the Niners can get the 2023 Brandon Ayuk, who was a second-team All-Pro at a position that is loaded with unbelievable players, that'll do this Niners offense wonders. Greg Smith, hi Chase. Super Jacob Cowing needs to step up. Will we be all right, or will he be all right? What do you think about it? Go Niners. Greg Smith, always appreciate the questions and the comments there. You know, for my OTAs preview, I had said, you know, Jacob Cowing is one of the players who I'm really interested in watching. We saw it in the preseason last year on that little stutter go from Josh Dobbs. He's pretty explosive. He could be a little bit of a vertical threat, and he tracked that ball over his shoulder. He was a highly productive player in college who played a lot of football. We saw it on a little bit of an end around, how he has some giddy up to his game. Didn't really get to see that a lot in the regular season, but we're talking about a 4th-round pick who has some juice. And so I want to see the Niners get creative in finding ways to get him the football, bubble screens, end arounds, long balls. Big year for him because that's a pretty crowded wide receiver room right there. Joe G. Chase, will the Niners sign another free agent offensive lineman veteran within the next few months? Always a possibility, right? Especially if an injury happens at that offensive line spot. Not a lot of good offensive linemen available, but man, you have some questions here. You know, they signed Andre Dillard. They signed Nicholas Petit-Fourrière. I think they're going to be competing for the backup tackle spots. But if Trent Williams or Colt McKivitz were to go down, I don't have a lot of confidence in either of those players. Left guard, open competition there. I hope that center is more of a competition because I want to see Jake Brendel get pushed. If you enjoyed today's show, give me a real one down in the comment section. As far as our real one roll call goes, we always appreciate all of you who tune into the show. So if you enjoyed the content, if you enjoyed this show, let me know. All right, good stuff, everybody. Joe GCMC was his own worst enemy. He never wanted to come out of the game. Yeah, you give him a lot of credit for that, right? Because the dude loves football. He grew up in a household where his dad played in the NFL and was an excellent player. And he grew up with brothers who themselves successful, really good football players. But sometimes, yeah, you can be your own worst enemy. Just like we can be our own worst enemies, right? If we have fitness goals, we don't take that rest day. We drive ourselves into the ground. If we're very driven as far as our work goes, we can overwork ourselves. Being competitive and driven, it's good. But sometimes you do have to manage that a little bit, no doubt. All right, Chip and I are going to sign off. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thanks to everybody who tuned into the show. Thank you to Candy for being our Super Chat MVP. And we'll catch you soon. Peace.